So in Matthew chapter 5, verse 16, Jesus tells us to let our lights so shine before men that they might see our good deeds and glorify our Father in heaven. But then in Matthew 6, he says to be careful not to do our good deeds in front of others to receive praise from them. Matthew 5, do your good deeds in front of people. Matthew 6, don't do your good deeds in front of people. What's up with that? A certain percentage of our acts of righteousness need to be visible. They need to be visible as a sign for others that this is who God is. And as an inspiration for others, that they can also join in the fun because it's so much more happy to give than to receive. But a certain percentage of our devotion absolutely must be secret, because if it isn't, our motivations drift. Take prayer, for example. I do a lot of praying in public as a pastor, but what I've also noticed is that the more praying I'm doing in private, the more sincere and powerful my praying in public feels to me. Sometimes as a preacher, I'll be praying in private, and then I'll find that I have this imaginary congregation in my mind that's listening to me pray, and I'm trying to pray some sort of impressive prayer. Or I find that I'm having a private relationship with Jesus, and it sometimes seems like I'm trying to mine some gold nugget so that I can quick run back and share it with the group. And I hate that dynamic. It is the secret relationship with God in private when no one's watching that makes the public thing when people are watching real. And if you're out of proportion, if it's 90% public, 10% private, that's probably dangerous. Here's the concept that I think is helpful. In a ship on the ocean, they have something called ballast. And that is where they actually put water in the hull of the ship. And it weighs the ship down so the ship floats lower in the water. And what that does is the winds and the waves on the surface are unable to topple the ship because of the weight of what you don't see above the surface. That's what keeps the ship upright. If you care more about what people think of you, then that will be your Lord. That thing will potter you and shape you. And that is a fickle, violent, angry, and cruel taskmaster. You will only be doing as well as people are talking about you if your motive in doing what you're doing is to be seen and honored and praised by man. But if your motive is to please the Lord, then you can withstand the persecution and the blowback. You won't be tossed to and fro by the whims of public opinion or your friends. My mom said something really awesome recently. She said, I hope when I die that people say that the only opinions I cared about was God's and my husband's. I thought that was awesome. So it sounded like a contradiction at the front end, but he wasn't contradicting himself. He's saying, when you do acts in public, the goal is not so that people will like you. The goal is so that people will see a clear image of who God is. That's the goal. And when you do things in private, the goal is not to mine those for public things later. The goal is to know God and to have the reward of knowing him more and more deeply and more intimately. The power you walk with in public is pretty much dependent on the intimacy you walk with in private.